Very intense character. She had to cry, right? And so the whole day she was in that state. And so the whole weekend she was a mess. So costly for her psychologically, emotionally, many reasons why actors have come and are coming to us nowadays, because they actually research, is there a different way?
The psychologically trained actors, therefore, they choose to stay in the role, as they say, through the whole day and maybe even through the whole week. But that means that your mind is in danger. The technicians go for a break and have a smoke and drink a cup of coffee. And so it's a much, much less expensive way for the actor to invest their life force. PEM changes is
Welcome back to FlavR Report, part of dailyovation.com. I'm Joe Winger. Today we're continuing our conversation, part of the series, with Stephan Perdekamp and Sarah Victoria from the Perdekamp Emotional Method, PEM. Long days, emotion, physical, duress maybe, all of these to me lead back to burnout. I think a lot of actors suffer from burnout. Some of them, strangely, might want to do that as some weird method thing. But again, we're human beings. How does PEM help us survive burnout, prevent burnout, keep us safe from burnout?
I think one of the biggest reasons for this burnout is that if you convince your brain, you want to convince your brain to be in a situation that is physically not apparent. So you are on a set, there are people working with different things, and you have to convince your mind that you are in the open ocean and your boat is sinking, right? So you have to sort of isolate your brain from the input from around, and you have to keep convincing it all the time against the influx of all sorts of information that are to the contrary. And so I think for the psychologically trained actors, therefore, they choose to stay in the role, as they say, through the whole day and maybe even through the whole week, sort of to never get out, because rebuilding it is much more costly and not all sure, right? But that means that your mind is in danger all the time, in stress, in whatever kind of the script gives you. Which means that the subconscious is providing energy all the time to move. It's because something could happen. The boat's sinking, right? And so while the technicians go for a break and have a smoke and drink a cup of coffee, the actor is on the boat, is on the boat, is on the boat. And then they set another scene and they shoot somebody else, but the actor sits in the back and is on the boat, is on the boat, and is on the boat. And the body eats up energy, and it's really exhausting. It's a fact that in order to create emotional movement, we need to burn calories to provide electricity. And so if I keep that for hours and hours going, I really eat up my reserves. So what PEM changes is that that the body goes into a state, but not the mind. And the body has a very good memory. I don't have to build it up complexly. Maybe one simple example would be tying shoelaces. I don't know, most people are not aware. It's quite an intricate ballet of finger movements that you learn as a child. It's a bit awkward in the beginning, but once you've learned it, your fingers know how to do that while you talk to other people. You can tie your shoes and talk to somebody, or just on the road, quickly retie them because something happened, and be focused on the job that you want to do just soon. So the body has, a much bigger capacity of memories of movements than the mind. So once you've established the emotional setup for a scene, and you have made it clear to the subconscious, it goes back to it, like it goes back to shoelacing or like combing your hair or whatever, brushing your teeth, right? So it's a set of movements it knows how to do, but it's the movements that the emotion have when they are in danger. So to move the body into the setup of I'm in danger becomes a very simple physical action. So now, when the others go on break, the actor can also go on break and just relax and save energy, having a sweet bar, and keep going. And when the director says, "Okay, back on set, now I need your fear again," there it is. It's not a problem. And then it's cut. We have to change the angle of the one light, and you can switch it off. And they say, "Okay, now we're back on," and you can switch it on. And so it's a much, much less expensive way for the actor to invest their life force into work.
And just adding to this, we played in our ensemble when we produced our plays. I played very intense roles, emotionally intense, and one of them was, for example, a character who cuts herself, aggressive behavior, and she turns it towards herself. So she cuts herself, and there's this cutting scene where I cut myself, in front of the stage, and you really feel like the audience is so touched. I always hear, when people cry, through that scene, and for me, it's like I go off and I can do my thing and prepare for the next scene. I'm not psychologically, there's no residue of that scene that I have to, panically, I don't know, get rid of, because the next scene is about, her being somewhere else, right? 10 years later, or 10 years earlier, and being happy, or right, a complete different emotional scenario. And so there is no emotional residue that you actually tends in a body. And I think that's one of the many reasons why actors have come and are coming to us nowadays, because they actually research, is there a different way where I don't have to stay in character all the time, right? And there's one of the actors, she was telling a story where she was supposed to shoot on a Friday. Very intense character, she had to cry, right? And so the whole day she was in that state, and she waited for her scene, and then it didn't come, and they said on Friday night, you have to shoot on Monday. And so the whole weekend she was a mess, because she tried to stay in that crying state, right? And on Monday she managed, but it was so costly for her psychologically, emotionally, that she was drained afterwards. And that's, by the way, the point when she also Googled us. But yeah, it is really also, 21st century, it's modern times. People want to find a different way. Maybe there is something else where I don't have to traumatize myself, where I don't have to, spend the weekend in that character trying to cry all the time, so that I can, still shoot on Monday. Yeah.
Shocked by that story, what she had to go through. And I'm so glad PEM exists, because I'm sure it's not as easy as a light switch, but the idea of being there all day and then having to do it all, stay there all weekend. I mean, that really is, I mean, in my world, that's torture. Like, I'm not sure, maybe she felt proud of it or something, but to me, that's torture. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think some of the actors, I think actually most actors, it's a topic I talk a lot in our workshops, but most of the actors think it's part of our profession. You have to exploit yourself, definitely psychologically, because then, if you don't, you're not a great artist. And I think, it might be time to break with that myth, and to have a profession like you have also, another profession, and you go home and you don't have to drag, your character and the feelings of that character with you.
I kind of relate it to the opposite of the camera department, because when the day ends, what do? They plug in the batteries to give them a rest. They lock it all up and they go home. And the next day they come back and the batteries are they're recharged.
Yes.
Right? Rather than, imagine if they had a camera rolling in their house all night long.
Yeah, of course you burn out after years, right, doing this. Yeah.